Good morning. Welcome to another Investing with Quito going live. So this is Monday. I've decided to switch to this schedule and just working on my consistency. And the title of, I guess what I'm talking about is progress and not perfection. Because we're always learning, and even starting this YouTube channel. I mean, I've had a lot of hesitation, and I still do. Honestly, like getting in front of the camera and recording, it's not always easy because I have some self-doubts like, oh, am I conveying my message properly? Am I at the right lighting? Is my internet? There's stuff goes through my head. And what I realize is, like in life, it's all about progress. It's about getting better each time. Like, I feel that every time I go on live, I'm getting just a little bit better. Maybe not much, but just a little bit better. And I'm just sharing and just being able to to share this with you guys and just really provide value, right? Because sometimes if I look back from, just say, like maybe a year from now, if I look back at this recording, I'll probably say, man, it was horrible, it sucked, right? But here's the thing: a year from now, if I continue to do this, I'm actually I'm going to get better. It's just a matter. It's just not if you get better, it's just not you will get better, right? It's like whatever you do, even if you suck at it in the beginning, you're making progress. And it may not feel like progress, but it is progress. Like just a little tiny fraction better. It's just like making, like, I know, like in the beginning of the year, everybody wants to try to get healthier. They try to eat better, right? And they try to do all this, make this massive change, and then they end up stopping because I see this at the gym. Like in the beginning of the year, the gym is packed full of people, right? And by like week 4 or week 6, the parking lot is not as full. There's people with great intentions. They want to make these huge, massive changes, and then they end up sticking to it. But what's even better is like if they just continue to be consistent at the gym, little by little, they'll improve their health, they'll improve your fitness, and that's just part of life. This is how we learn. Anything like in life, where it's always going to be progress. If we continue to stick with it, we are going to get better. And so, how does this relate to investing? Because I know my topic is, obviously investing. Like, how does this relate? It's like everything we do, right? We're always we're always going to improve. Like, for example, like when I first started out in real estate, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. It was, if you look at my previous videos I share with you, how I failed miserably, right? Especially in 2000, where I just literally lost everything. And it's like, man, and at the time, I didn't realize it, right? Looking back, I was actually making progress, right? I was progressing in my real estate investing journey, even though I didn't feel like I was making progress. As a matter of fact, I felt like I was failing miserably, I want like less of a progress because I mean, it felt horrible. But looking back was actually progress because had I not stepped into it and gotten to the situation, honestly, I don't think I would be where I am right now because I am learning and I am growing. So a lot of times, like when we fail at something, we don't think it's progress. We think it's actually failure. Reminds me of a story about Thomas Edison. Um, he was interviewed because obviously people know that he was the father of someone who invented the light bulb, right? So when they asked him, like, like it took him like 1,000 times, at least that's the story, like 1,000 experiments to figure out how to create the incandescent light bulb. And so they asked us like, like you kept failing, and this is what he said. He told the uh, with the reporter, I've learned 999 ways of how not to make a light bulb, right? 999 ways not to make a light bulb. So, I mean, but for him, see, it was all of those failures was a progress for him because he figured that I'm just one step closer to figuring out how to create a light bulb, right? The thing is, when we're like investing, even though we may fail in it financially, it can hurt big. It can set us back like years. But at the same time, it's like we're learning. It's like, oh, well, I'm not doing that again, right? Or what was it that in that situation, what did I do that caused it to happen? And so we're always making progress. Like I've got many examples. I mean, even in and like I was rehabbing a property, right? And what had happened was, so we got everything fixed up. I mean, it looked nice. The tenant moved in. 2 weeks later, the drain line backed up. Okay, and here's the thing. Here's what I've learned, right? When getting like when you because most of the properties that I do rehab, I mean, they're old and this one has been abandoned for years. Who knows, right? What I in hindsight, what I know now is like, okay, when we have a house, I should have gotten the sewer line scope. For some people who's really experienced, that may kind of seem like an obvious thing, like get its scope. But for me, like I didn't think to get it scoped, right? Because I didn't. Um, After the tenant moved in, a couple weeks later, the line is all backed up. So yes, it was it was a learning curve for me that it's like, of course, like man, I like boom, right? Like, why didn't I think of this? Because sometimes, and the thing too is, not all contractors are gonna look out for your best interest. They just want to get the job done. You pay them to do something, they do it, and they're off. They're not thinking, right? The contractors they could have said, "Hey, Quito, have you thought about scoping the line?" Or even the plumber, because he knew this was a new project, and I don't know, could he have make a recommendation? Say, "Hey, before we start plumbing this thing, did you check the lines to make sure everything is good?" That that could have happened, but that didn't happen. So I've learned the hard way. It's like, okay, note to self, remodeling old properties, scope the line, make sure that the line is clear, right? So it was it was progress for me. Yes, progress, and it's not perfect. However, I'm learning, and and if you approach life like that in general, like always learning, we're always making progress in the things that we want to achieve or the things that we want to go after, then those failures or setbacks, whatever you call it, look at it as it's just progress. You're just one step closer. So now I'm like one step closer to learning how to do a better job of remodeling. And even in partnerships too, because I've been in many different partnerships, and I'm continue making progress and continue learning. I mean, there's one instance where I got in a partnership, and everything was working good, and until it didn't. Right? Meaning it was delayed. We had delays after delays in the rehab, and the when the partner had other life incidents happen, and the partner wanted out. Well, haven't really talked about like the exit strategy because the original plan was okay, we acquired the property, we got private money loan to for the re to acquire it and for the rehab. And the plan is once that's done to refinance so we could pay back our private money lenders and then move on and continue to collect the cash flow and then continue on with the partnership. But with the delays and things happen, the partner and some other life situation happened, decided, okay, I want out. Like, okay. So we got the property appraised and we I basically gave her 50% of the equity that we acquired. Okay. Now, um, in hindsight, if I had something a little bit more solid on how we would have exited, I think it would have been less financially stressful for me because I was financially, like stressed, like, man, okay, now I've got to pay them, this percentage of equity, which is part of what we agreed on. But at the same time, we didn't talk about, well, we exit early. How are we going to do this? Right? Like, how did you get your equity right away? Or did you get it, you know, um, up when I sell the property, when I refinance up to the date, the value of the property? I mean, so many different things that I didn't think about in the partnership agreement. And so, I mean, that's something that I'm learning. It's like, okay, well, that wasn't fun at times because it was like stressful because like I had to figure out how I'm going to come up with this sum of money to buy out my partner. Um, so like I'm learning, it's progress, and if we just continue to learn in the things that we do in life, is it's just going to make it just more fulfilling. It's not so like when I was younger, I used to be afraid of like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I want things to work out perfectly. And I realize as I'm getting older, I'm learning it's not about perfection. It's just about the progress that we make because nothing is ever going to be perfect. I mean, nothing is ideal. Like even investing in real estate is not perfect, right? Like it can look the numbers wise when you're doing your underwriting. I mean, it can look perfect. Like, oh man, this looks as good. We're going to cash flow this much. The value is going to be worth an X amount, and it can look like perfect on paper. But when you actually start to do it, I mean, it's not. I mean, it gets messy. I mean, there's so many things that you have to move around, and there's some inherent risk, right? And I think that's a that's a that's what holds a lot of people back from it. I think investing, whether it's in real estate or whether it's in stocks or whatever it is, they're thinking, gosh, well, what if I lose money? Like, what if this happens? Like having rentals out. What if the tenants thrash your property? What if they don't pay? I mean, yes, those are all possibilities, and they do happen. I mean, I've shown videos of properties where the tenants like thrashed it. I mean, it was like we remodeled it, and 6 months later, it's horrible, right? But that's the thing. That's just part of the risk that you take when you invest. Like in investing, there's nothing that's going to be like, oh, like risk free, right? I can't say actually nothing. I mean, obviously, you want to just throw your money in a CD. That's relatively safe, I guess, right? You get a 4% or 5% return. Okay, that's safe. Okay, but in general, like like when you're acquiring your first rental, yes, you're you're gonna have challenges. You may possibly have tenants that don't pay, tenants that thrash your property, but that's just all that's just part of the risk that you inherently have to accept, right? Yeah, so you want a perfect tenant there that pays early, that pays often, great. Ideally, I would love all my tenants to do that. That's not the case. Uh, so, but the thing is, once you get in that property ladder, you're just making progress. You're making progress towards your financial future, right? Like just one rental at a time, one property at a time, you get one, you're learning, you're making progress in how you're acquiring the property, how you're maintaining the property. So every all of that is just, even though it may seem like setbacks when you have tenants that don't pay, it's still progress because you're learning. You're learning how to screen better, and you're learning how to do better maintenance. I mean, I'm constantly learning, like constantly every single day. I'm learning. Like when I'm like rehabbing or turning over a property, if I'm fixing things, it's like sometimes I want to go cheap on something, right? And then sometimes I'm like, wow, because I've gotten bit many times. I go cheap and man, it ends up kicking me in the teeth down the road, right? It's like, okay, well, do I spend the money now, bite the bullet, get it done right, or do I just try to piecemeal it together and then having to replace it down the road? So, I'm learning sometimes it's best to just, pay a little bit more, get it done right the first time, and so then you wouldn't have to worry about it down the road. So, we're again, it's progress for me every single day. I'm always learning. I'm always learning. I really stress the point that the learning part and the progress, because that's that's just life. That's how we grow. That's how we become a better person, become a better human being. Like it's if we want better health, if we want better relationships. It's these little things that we do and it makes progress. Sometimes the progress may seem like minuscule. However, it is progress. So give yourself, you know, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace when you're doing those things. When you're learning along the way, as long as you're making progress, you're learning, no matter how small it may seem, just keep on going, right? When we're learning about investing and if things don't turn out, don't quit. Like figure out, okay, well, what did I learn from there? Look at it as progress and move forward. So that's really what I want to share with you guys today is, just the fact that the things that you do in life, you know, it's all about just making progress. And don't worry about getting things perfectly. Like I don't even like I don't know, for me, it's like perfect is not um like yeah, we strive for, but I don't really care if I get perfection. What's more important to me is as long as I'm making that progress, whether that's in my personal life, my relationships with my kids, my wife, my family members, as long as I'm just making progress, and that's all we can do. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you found value, and we'll see you next time.